Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the UKEL Summer Split for 2020. I'm Will Vibrant William. I'm joined by Adrian Jabalafon. I'm not even going to point. I've given up on that at this stage. Week 3 is the week we're on, and we've got some very exciting games for you today. Jamada, what do you think of this first matchup?
First matchup's going to be pretty interesting, Will. Lucendi versus Viperio, both 0-2 right now in the table. So very important game for both of these teams to actually secure the W. And because if they don't from this point on, trying to actually secure a playoff position, it's going to be a really big uphill battle.
It's going to be a struggle. Both of these teams you can see on your screens right now. Lucendi, Awaken, Puru, Emil, Gould, and Hyoya with their coach Doctor. And Viperio, Zuki, Johnny Rico, Eric, Kaz, and Dimi Unleashed with their coach Safe. So we are going into picks and bans very, very quickly in this one. As you can see, we're there now.
Yeah, we're here now already.
And Lucian and Zach are the first two champions being banned away.
Yeah, so Lucian, I've had my gripes of this champion, particularly with Viperio. Not even particularly in this split per se, but Kaz very big on the champion is very much a comfort pick for him. I beg your pardon. So interesting to see actually banned away. I'm curious now to actually see what he decides to default to, but getting straight through the picks and bans. Rek'Sai and Graves on the blue side by Lucendi, and then on the opposite side, Varus, a very staple red side ban. And now Viperio probably weighing up what they want to do. Aphelios is the answer, so Syndra up is normally the first pick of 10.12. Of course, we're on live patch though, so we're on 10.13. Some of the Syndra nerfs did go through, falling a little bit in priority, so that means Lucendi just going to pick up set first pick, and it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so interesting visual box right now, in that people are not picking in order down, but you know, it's fun, it's interesting. Wicked at the bottom there, picking up the set. Very strong champion, is flexible as you say, so could be moving down to that support role. But we do know Awaken likes this champion as well, so a lot still available on this red side for the first couple of picks. So Talia, maybe not one would have expected to be placed in such a high priority position.
Yeah, so it's a pocket pick, I believe, for Johnny Reco, if I'm recalling correctly. Research, please be accurate. But Ezreal, another very strong champion, especially on 10.13. Didn't really get hit too hard. There was, of course, the Conqueror nerf on this patch, and then on top of that, the Death Stance nerf. But Ezreal didn't actually get directly nerfed, so still sort of sitting on top of the ADC throne right now. But it's going to be interesting to see what Viperio actually decide to do with their R3. Looking over to Lucendi, they could realistically just pick up some more powerful picks, stuff like Thresh, for example, still up, but hovering the Gragas, and it's actually going to end up being locked in. So now I'm curious about what Lucendi actually have planned for the rest of the draft. I feel like the Gragas is kind of strange to potentially an early pick, unless they are very certain that Talia is going in the jungle. But still plenty of things up and available here.
Yeah, it could be the classic from Gould. They are hovering the Callista. Just giving Kai'Sa a bit of respect as well. A lot of analysts saying that Kai'Sa is a great pick into the Ezreal. And of course, with swapping Yuumi, it was the classic to go with Ezreal, but they've gone with the Braum, so that's a little bit of a throwback pick.
Yeah, a little bit of a throwback pick. Does kind of show that Viperio are potentially looking to play into their solo lane, sort of leave the Ezreal and the Braum to their own devices. They're not exactly going to get dove on repeat. It's very hard to dive that bottom lane. So seems like Viperio could end up going in that direction. Ban-wise, it's kind of hard to sort of nail down where they would likely go. I'd imagine maybe if they just end up banning mids. Cassiopeia is the first one to go down. So looking for some kind of strong mid laner, probably early to mid game, to try and get that Talia rolling, is what I would imagine. However, I'm unsure what Eric is likely to default to in these conditions. Renekton removed away, a very, very strong pairing. Could end up being flexed on R4, so it makes a lot of sense to remove that away when Talia's on the board. And now the ball's kind of in Viperio's court, really. It just depends on what they're planning to pick and whether they sort of give over any information with their ban. The timer ticks down.
We'll go for the Trundle. So that's a strong pickup in the jungle being taken off the board. A little bit interesting considering that Gragas is taken away, but of course you can flex this guy top.
Yeah, can be flexed top. More recently has shown his head a little more in the top lane, but of course can also be flexed bot. I've seen Hyojung play it in the UKEL in previous times too. So makes a lot of sense to just remove it. It's very strong with the Callista. I mean, the Gragas is strong with the Callista and the Trundle. They're just not sold that Gragas is going to end up going in the jungle.
Yeah.
And Mordekaiser, actually, curiously enough, removed. This feels like a bit of a loss of a ban, in my opinion, but just trying to guarantee that Set doesn't have a very, very rough matchup in the top side. But I wouldn't have imagined that Viperio end up taking that champion regardless. But kind of just removing away Set counters, giving away that Set is probably going to end up in Awaken's hands. Now Viperio, I'd imagine just looking for a strong skirmishing pick here, mid or top. And
with the Camille. That's an interesting champion we don't get to see too much of, but definitely a strong duelist and can be quite mobile and getting in and out of those skirmishes. So could be an interesting pickup on the top side. Going to see how Lucendi decide to round out their composition. Of course, we'll be looking for a mid laner most likely. Gragas hasn't been a mid lane pickup for quite some time. And the other one is kind of anyone's guess where their last pick will go, and they might well leave it last. So just to keep Viperio guessing a little bit more, what will Gould go with here? Corki being locked in.
Corki, very strange. And I kind of just want to add, I feel like maybe they could have still just gone for Syndra here as their strong mid. It would have kind of fit well into the profile of the comp, but maybe the nerfs really do just knock Syndra out entirely from the meta, just completely absent right now. And Volibear, okay.
The bear is in the neighborhood. Top lane, most probably. That does suggest that Set will be going down to the support role, but Volibear, do you think he could be played elsewhere?
Volibear right now, very much able to play jungle, top, and sometimes support. And Galio, the mid lane pickup here, technically a bit of a self-counter pick into the Corki, because he can't necessarily stop the Corki from scaling, but with the Camille just looking to impact the side lanes later on in the game, and anytime a target gets put in that Camille ultimate, immediately the entrance from Galio is just going to come down, the immediate knockup's going to be there, and whichever poor soul is in that cage is probably going to die. But these are our comps, and looking down each side, I'm liking the look of Viperio's comp. However, I feel like Lucendi may just be able to end up abusing this really, really weak bottom side. They can leave the Volibear to his own devices. However, Camille will eventually become a menace in the side lane, just by nature. So it's a very, very interesting draft that we've ended up with, Will.
Two very interesting drafts with a couple of champions that maybe you weren't expected to see. A couple of pocket picks as well. Of course, Gould, well known for his Callista in the UK scene, and there are just a few champions here that I'm raising my eyebrows at. Not necessarily thinking, wow, this is a bad pickup, but just champions we get to see. Talia, a champion that we don't get to see too much of. Camille, a champion we don't get to see too much. Even looking across onto Lucendi's side as well. A couple of picks that maybe, it's more conventional, right? The Volibear is something that we haven't seen too much of as of yet, but definitely a strong tank. And even though Camille's going to be a nuisance, it's going to be hard to take this Volibear down.
Yeah, if the Volibear gets going, gets a kill or two under its belt, it's definitely going to sort of overshadow the Camille scaling on the side lane. And just in general, there's not a whole bunch of tank busting capability on the side of Viperio for a little while, until Ezreal has items, until Camille again has items to actually be able to deal that burst damage and get through Volibear's HP. So could definitely be an avenue, but I feel like when you have Callista set bot lane, and particularly into a very sort of willing to yield a lot of pressure bot lane in Ezreal and Braum, if you're Puru here, I feel like you're more likely to try and just go immediately to the Callista lane, try and impact it, try and make it as big of a Fiesta lane as possible. However, once level 6 comes down across the board, there's a lot of global pressure on the side of Viperio here. The Galio ultimate, the Talia ultimate, there's a lot of respect that Lucendi genuinely have to pay when making plays almost anywhere on the map, really.
Definitely could be a tricky one. Definitely going to be able to get around the map very, very quickly. And just delivering the Galio in with the Talia as well could create a whole host of problems for everyone, especially when the priority target is being trapped in by Zuki on the Camille. We're going to go into game very shortly, but Joe, I think that you said you like the Lucendi comp maybe a little bit more. Viperio, let's talk about them for a second, because last week we watched them obviously go for a second defeat. Neither of these two teams have won. Viperio looked like they struggled a little bit to get going. Do you think this composition might be able to give them a little bit more agency in the early game, or do you think it's a composition that's built more to kind of ignore that perceived weakness in their style and just go a bit later?
No, I feel like, again, you've got Gragas, you've got Callista set. I feel like you should be winning out most skirmishes towards the bottom side of the map. The only worry is kind of just going to be the mid lane prio. Galio should be able to secure it relatively easily into a Corki, so gonna have to sort of just keep their eye on where the Galio is, and then again, particularly after level 6, the heroic entrance is such a team game-changing ultimate
It really is.
from time to time, and especially when you're talking about there's Gragas, there's a Corki, that's a lot of magic damage that the ultimate can actually block out now.
Honestly, seeing Galio, Camille, Talia, and Brom, I'm kind of sad there's not a Yasuo. I'm a little bit sad.
Yeah, Yasuo could have been genuinely pretty strong here, but Ezreal was the name of the game picked up early, so it's Ezreal
right now, so it makes sense to not go with that. Oh, we've got lots of knockups. Let's go with the champion that synergizes with knockups. But just as we're loading in, Jemado, you see the 2 team comps. I believe that you predicted Lucendi to take away this before Champ Select went down.
Yeah.
Are you sticking with your bet? Are you thinking that Lucendi will walk away with this?
I'm thinking that, looking at the draft side by side, I kind of have a little more faith in Lucendi here. But Viperio definitely have the kind of tools, and they've drafted differently, especially because the Lucian was banned away. In a way where they're not necessarily shoehorned into having to sort of get an early lead or rely on some kind of snowball here. Their champions do scale, and they're not necessarily pressured into having to, like I said, get that early lead. They can sit here, they can wait for the Ezreal to come online with the 2 items, they can wait for the Camille to come online with the 2 items, rely on the Galio and the Talia to actually skirmish early, and then use those champions as a bridge to allow the Camille and the Ezreal to come online.
Well, of course, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be getting into this one very, very shortly. We have Lucendi on the blue side taking on Viperio on the red side. On the blue side, Lucendi, Awaken, Puru, Emil, Gould, and Hyoyoung. And on the red side, we've got Zuki, Johnny, Rico, Eric, Kaz, and Dimmy Unleashed. Very exciting. For these 2 teams, this is kind of last chance saloon to an extent. Obviously, we're still before the halfway mark of this split. We've got this will be game 3 of 7 for these 2 teams, but neither of the teams having won. If you go 0-3 in your first 3 games, it's going to be a massive struggle for you to get into playoffs. Not impossible, it must be said, but you're going to have to really step up, and you're going to need other teams to really lose some ground if you want to make those playoff places.
Yeah, it's a mountain to climb. It's a mountain to climb. If you end up going 0-3 in the first 3 weeks, there is no second round, so every game really does matter here. So this win, there's a lot of pressure on both the teams to actually take it. And like I said, I feel a little more confident in Viperio in terms of they've been forced to draft slightly differently than the original 2 weeks.
Yeah.
However, it has to be said, Lucendi do have some pretty scary champions. Volibear on this patch, very big monster. Kalista sort of escaped major nerfs. And of course, being paired with the set, it's a very big kill lane into a lane that, yes, is designed to sort of, survive these kill lanes, but at the end of the day, all it can take is one misstep and you get CC to death, rendered out, and you die.
I am also a little bit worried that these red team doesn't have enough damage to maybe break down these tanks, because you've got the Volibear, you've got the Gragas, you've got the set. These are big targets, and yeah, Ezreal does a decent amount. Talia is probably your secondary damage as well, but I don't know, I'm a little bit concerned if you don't get going with this Viperio team comp, you could basically just be unable to break down the team fight coming in from Lucendi. But we are on to the Rift now, ladies and gentlemen, for this first game of the UKEL Summer Split Week 3. Of course, watching all the action today from all 8 teams. These 2 teams fighting it out at the bottom of the table as it stands. And I don't know when we're allowed to start talking about playoffs. I don't know when production will allow us to start having these narrative discussions about it, but both of these teams will be hoping that this could be the start of a change of fortunes for themselves.
Most definitely so, and Viperio getting an early invade in, of course, Braum, one of the stronger level 1 champions, if not the strongest level 1 champion in the game to have on your team, so securing a little bit of vision in the blue side jungle, and meanwhile, Lucendi don't really do much of it. They, oh no, never mind, they seem to have gotten a ward on the blue. The ping was covering it, so misinformation there by me, but wards just traded across the map. And it seems like junglers going to both be staying on red for now.
Pretty standard stuff. We are currently watching our lovely faces. We're having a couple of slight issues, but you know what? You can watch us. Production, can we just get a quick word if we are pausing? So we're keeping it rolling. Okay. So welcome to the radio edition
radio
of
show.
UKEL. Oh, we're back. Excellent. No radio
Hey,
show.
there we go.
I was actually having this conversation while we're in the early game, and hopefully nothing kicks off for like a minute or so. I was seeing a lot of people talking about, because obviously the UKLC and the NLC are now both on BBC. Massive props to everyone who sorted that out, and it's been some awesome competition in both of those leagues. But people are talking about how they really want a radio edition of these League of Legends shows so they can listen like when they're driving around and stuff. Do you think that would work? Or do you think...
Yeah, sure, why not? I think it's akin to listening to football on the radio.
Maybe. There's a lot more going on, though. Because obviously in football there's only one ball, so you're kind of only having to watch one figure at a time. But in League of Legends, so much is going on, like... I don't know, I think it might be a little bit frantic, especially team fights. Like, a lot of the time when you're playing team fights and watching them, the play-by-play caster doesn't say every single, like, big ability that's used quite often. So you might... I don't know, I feel like you'd miss out more on League of Legends than you would in something like football.
Maybe. I'm leaning into. I feel like it'll be fine. I think you could definitely listen to a cast and figure out what's going on as long as you know a little bit about the game. But looking at the game at hand, it seems like Johnny Recco just went straight from his red side. Oh, I'm gonna have to pause this. This trade is kind of extended.
It's okay. Zuki will be able to kind of damage back.
Chomps him back for his troubles. Yeah. Relatively calm early game so far, but Recco, I believe, just went completely unseen getting that counter jungle in, but it seems like, Will...
Awaken really doesn't want you to make this point moving forward. You can see Peru's there, but he's been knocked back by Johnny Recco. Gonna have to flash away. And now Awaken's gonna try and get Tally away. The flash forward will secure first blood for the jungler of Viperio, who's gonna chase on towards Awaken, who should be able to speed away, but the Q's gonna land the slows there, but it's not gonna be enough this time around. Johnny Recco gonna force the flash at the end, though. Excellent play early from Viperio's jungler.
Yeah, manages to secure the kill there, and man, what a messy skirmish to start off the day with, Will. Johnny Recco gets the invade in, doesn't even seem like he's spotted by Peru. Peru tries to make the proactive play, but just stopped in his tracks by the Talia W, and then eventually gets run down. And Awaken in the aftermath of it all eventually has to end up blowing his flash too. So, pretty big win for Viperio's top side in the early game.
Massive win, and all coming off a nice rotation coming up from Johnny Recco, and that should get it going a little bit. 1-0 on the Talia, picking up that first blood. Maybe now needs to turn that gold into some plays across the map in order to keep the advantage rolling for Viperio, because as we were saying in Champ Select, they've sometimes looked a little bit slow off the mark and have gained this early advantage. Now it's going to be a test of whether they can use it. It's going to be a 3v3 fight in the river. Demi Unleashed is going to be backing away from that one. But these two teams really want to get at it early. Awaken and Zuki going at each other once again. Zuki actually looking to re-engage potentially, but has to move away pretty quickly. Doesn't want to be taking these extended trades with Volibear because they're not going to go all that well.
No, well, you know, as the game goes on, he'll start to heal obnoxious amounts, but...
True, with Conqueror.
Yeah, with the... Well, he's got PTA here, normally. Oh, flash engage!
Oh,
okay.
flashing forward from Shoyoung, looking to get damage onto Kaz, who's going to take a lot, but isn't going to go down. And it's going to be forced to back away, but... Yeah, actually, we can talk about these masteries a little bit top, because the Volibear has gone for the press the attack. Camille has gone for that Conqueror. What's the decision-making behind Volibear's rune, do you think?
You know, I'm a coach and I still don't know. I feel like it's more or less just how the Volibear player feels about the specific lane matchup. Right here, I guess he's looking for the shorter trades. Conqueror, of course, just provides so much healing over time, but perhaps there's something to it. I guess W perhaps might interact with PTA, right? Of course, the Triforce build is often something that ends up being picked up, so could end up being that too. But I normally lean into the Conqueror. Whenever I see the champion, I want to see Conqueror on it. It just seems like it gives it a lot more value. But PTA is the rune of choice here, so I have to see if it has any major impact over the course of the remainder of this laning phase and, of course, the game. But we did see Kaz have to blow his flash to that gank. It's going to be interesting to see whether or not the bottom lane of Ghoul and Hyojong is actually going to be able to take advantage of that, and whether Puru is going to make a return, but we're at 6 minutes into the game, Will, so Olmos is starting to come in. And now Eric's going to be able to provide a lot more pressure, so it's going to get harder as time goes on for Lucendi to actually, you know, abuse this bottom lane matchup. They weren't quite able to translate that gank into a Dragon Eva, So it's gonna sort of become a little troublesome, especially when Johnny Recco has the wall available to her too. Having so much global pressure, it's a lot to have to deal with.
It's interesting that both of these junglers have put so much pressure on this top side of the map, and bot lane's been completely left, but we can see members moving up from Viperio, looking for the dive. Zuki's tanking it for now. We're going to see Dominic coming through from Volibear as he runs away, going to be dashing back under his tower. Does he have the damage? Takes on down. He does! He's going to be taking Eric out, and the rest of Viperio are going to be running away, tail between legs. Excellent turnaround play from Awaken to even up the score.
I just don't understand the want to actually even attack the Volibear lane. I understand that perhaps you want to try and get the Camille ahead in the side lane so that she's comfortable further on into the lane, but it just doesn't seem worth it. Like, the Volibear is so hard to dive with the ultimate, and you saw the damage return just from Volibear. Forget about the tower damage itself. And yeah, just botched execution overall. Don't manage to layer any CC, and the cost is the early Cloud Dragon. So now, if Gould and Hyojong can actually find a good opportunity to get a good base time in, they could potentially swap around, but seems like the gank not going to be taken here.
Doing a lot of damage with the Ignite as well. Hyojong getting the shield up, but it won't be enough. He's going to burn down to the Ignite with the Braum picking up that one. Peru forced away by Eric, but definitely not a good play at all in the top side. And Viperio making some amends bot to be able to take out the support from Lucendi, but committing so many men top side, losing the play and losing Dragon as well. Very, very questionable from Viperio. You could see a couple of mistakes already coming out from both of these teams, so going to be a case of rectifying these as you move forward, because losing first Dragon isn't the end of the world, but mistakes like that will lead to bigger and bigger costs as we move further into the game.
Yeah, a very strange state of affairs the top lane play was, but we continue forward. It actually seems like Viperio are going to be the ones to move up here, and that's kind of a big deal. It means that once Zuki decides to get his reset off, you'd imagine after he kills this cannon creep, that'll be the case. He's going to end up going bot. Or they just stay as a 5-man to actually secure the Rift Herald. It seems like that's going to be the choice here. I feel like this is a slight miscommunication simply because Corki has package off on the side. So, I mean, it's going to be difficult because Gold and Hyojong are still bots, so hard to even really contest. Both teams kind of making a bit of a mess of this Herald in reality. I mean, it's picked up by Viperio nonetheless, either way, so happier out of the two teams. But Gould and Hyojong now just left completely alone on the bottom side to whack at some plates, and now Zuki's going to be TPing into a lane that he's not necessarily too happy in, so gonna have to make immediate use of this Rift Herald now to actually see it be useful. And it seems like that's going to be the case. On the way ping is here, and we can only hope that they don't try and
dive the
Volibear again.
The Awaken's just saying, like, please dive me. This will be a great time for everyone. But the proof will be in the pudding with the Rift Herald play. You lose a lot on the bot side to secure it. All 5 members were up top to make sure it was taken without any kind of pomp or circumstance. And now, how much gold they'll be able to gather out of it, if they'll be able to take an objective with it, like take down a tower completely, will be what is required. And they move so many men up to commit, but there's a response coming in from Lucendi.
I mean, the response is here. The plates.
They're moving forward, actually, to be able to get onto Kaz, looking to body slam, looking to ultimate, not going to be able to land it. But Gould dancing around the Braum shield. He doesn't care about that one. Not going to be able to take on Ezreal just yet, though, as Talia is there just to give some assistance. Hyojong turns up, but not going to be able to chase on too quickly, and even the slow on Braum won't be able to secure anything. So, able to respond in short order, lose the tower, but stop anything else from occurring.
Yeah, but again, Lucendi are just really slow to the play. They're slow on the rotation. Yes, they take 2 plates bot, but at the end of the day, the net gold just isn't worth it. A lot of gold just went onto Kaz on this Ezreal. We've seen what Ezreals can do with this much gold in their pocket. And just, it feels like Lucendi are just a little bit slow in general. They're not really reading what's going on the map too well. And I suppose credit to Viperio for moving the full bot lane up. I feel like they could have actually just left Kaz on the bottom side to farm solo XP regardless, but they put all the plate golds into him either way, so still a win. And now eyes are just gonna have to start looking towards the next dragon spawn,
which will be coming up in about a minute's time, just over. This is the last dragon. Last dragon was easily secured by Lucendi after a botched play top from Viperio, but moving into the next one, Viperio in a much more comfortable position, have a little gold lead for themselves, and will be feeling confident. Their macro play has probably shaded Lucendi's. As you say, Lucendi have been quite slow to respond to plays that they themselves are not initiating. And that could be costly because with this Mana coming up, going to want to secure that one. Both of these teams will want that. And do you know what? I'm looking at this Ezreal, I'm getting worried. I'm getting concerned for Lucendi. Because, yes, he hasn't got any kills yet, right? He's been quietly sitting down bot. And yes, Kalista has been is keeping up a farm. And on the surface, they do look very similar. But I'm a little concerned that Ezreal has 600 gold up on this Kalista already. And that's without other changes.
Okay. Sorry, I always get
excited. You're like,
excited whenever I see Volibear and Camille trade. But yeah, I mean, you know, the gold lead is just kind of slowly building for the Ezreal. And yes, Kalista and Ezreal are on even terms right now, or near even terms, but that's not what you want when you have this Kalista lane, right? You want the Kalista to start snowballing early. You want to actually use the pick to try and deny away some CS, some XP from the enemy bottom side. And it's just not happened so far. So Lucendi really need to try and find some room to actually be proactive somewhere, but it's just so difficult when you have to deal with the threat of a Galio, or the threat of, you know, if you don't know where Johnny Recco is, just walling in and immediately it's not as advantageous a fight numbers wise. And Dragon started up. Seems like it's going to be pulled out and probably secured by Viperio.
Peru going in, but then able to slide out instantly. Going to be secured by Viperio, as you say. And with the Inferno blazing across the rift, that does confirm Infernal Dragon will be our soul. So both these teams might be looking to have a little bit more damage if they can secure those objectives.
Yep. And Infernal Soul, of course, some consider the most powerful. Still kind of debated, I suppose, whether Ocean Soul or Infernal are the stronger of the two. My chips personally in the Ocean Soul. I think it's such an oppressive soul to ever have to deal with. But some comps, like this comp for example, the Viperio comp could very well actually abuse the Infernal Soul very well with their champions. A lot of tick damage from Talia and Ezreal together, and also the Galio, so a lot to be had there. But
gonna be even more excited.
Yeah, no more excited, but things looking to calm down for a little while, though the quietness likely to be short-lived because the Herald is going to be spawning in around 50 seconds or so. And seeing swaps already, lane assignments, Viperio willing to just send Ezreal and Braum up towards the top side to go and secure priority there. They often not, you actually tend to see Ezreal's in-lane assignments end up mid, but I suppose for the moment they want to keep the Galio in the mid lane just because of the ultimate, doesn't have TP himself, so want to have him be able to react to anything going on either side lane. And for now, Lucendi going to have their hands most likely on the skull, going to secure that. And now it's just going to be about the beginning/entrance of this fight, as Emil not having package for this is pretty big deal, Will.
Yeah, good. Really, really nice from Eric just to burn that one away with a simple W, and Awaken looking to engage the fight, getting a lot of damage in. Here comes the ultimate from Galio, but Volibear just going to dunk directly onto his opposing jungler, going to be able to take him out of the fight. Dimmy Unleashed goes down. Eric not able to continue, and Lucendi pick up a couple of picks, and they're going to be moving forward as a 5-man to take down this Herald.
Johnny feels really bad about that one. Awaken just pretty much one-shot him with the Volibear damage. Viperio are going to respond at least with the mid-tier 1, which is a nice consolation prize, and of course the trade-off is pretty much just going to be weighed up on how Lucendi are actually able to use this Rift Herald, and it seems like, given the numbers in the mid lane, going to just end up putting Herald down here and trading mid-tier 1s.
Don't have a mini wave right now though, so we'll be tanking up. The Galio's only one there currently to respond. Braum turning up now as well, but that's enough damage probably to take it down, and we'll be able to tank up tower shots. So, as you say, going to be returned, and going to be happy with that one. But Lucendi, got to say that was mighty clean, and we talked about Lucendi a little bit in draft. We talked about him before we went on stream as well, about how, yes, they're 0-2, but the way they've been playing has actually been pretty solid in a lot of cases. And some of the mistakes they've made have cost them games, but it's not like they've been making big mistakes throughout both of their games. It's just been a case of bad decision-making in one key position have cost them.
Yeah, Lucendi haven't necessarily looked like a 0-2 team so far. They have played pretty well in all of their games, but just fallen short of the finish line each time. Of course, looking to change that this time around as numbers gather around the bot lane, eyeing up the tier 1 bot lane tower, Viperio were, but enough numbers respond, and seems like, for now, going to return to a little bit of calmness, but objective after objective spawning pretty much in line. Infernal Dragon, a little bit over a minute now until that's on the map, and as things stand, gold pretty even. Not even 100 gold in it. However, you have to imagine Awaken is going to be damn near close to that Triforce. He has all of the components, but no items, so probably going to look to farm that wave up top, if he can even make it, and try and secure it as bottom lanes trying to get a little bit frisky with each other.
They're looking for an engage, might be able to find it. Braum helped with the disengage, and that Oliver's coming through. Talia wants to wall them off, and now members of Lucendi are in a bit of a sticky situation. 3-on-3 in the fight, the teleport coming through. Ghoul takes a lot of damage, goes down, but Rieko forced to the wrong side of the fight and will be taking very low, taken out. Dimmy Unleashed, last member standing, gonna get dunked in the backline. And with Hyoyoung there with the damage there, and the bear there, looking to take down Eric, who did heroically enter that fray. Not able to do anything though. You see Emil coming over the side, going towards the Braum, but just puts the shield up. Doesn't really care about the damage coming in from Torgis. Eric looks to re-engage, looks for the taunt, will be able to land it, but now going to take a whole heap of damage on the back. And might actually survive this flash run from Emil. Will be enough to secure the kill. Very interesting re-engage from Viperio's mid laner. Will make things a little bit more sour as Lucendi get priority on Dragon.
Yeah, and Zuki in the meanwhile is pushing in this top side tower. I believe he's... Oh no, the tower's practically full HP, so he's not even going to be able to respond with that. Waves are at least missed on the side, but it's not even really a consolation prize. But yeah, that fight, very, very messy, and we've egged on about the global response that Viperio have with the Galio armor and the Talio wall, and we saw it there, but I mean, once Awaken showed up to that fight, it was pretty much done and dusted. A lot of comics going on with the bottom lane blast cone. It's what actually cost Gould his life. I didn't quite get to see who hit the blast cone, but knocked him back into the fray, and though he did try and flash out, it ended up costing him his life nonetheless. And as said, once Awaken was there, dunked onto the fight and picked himself up another kill. Hasn't even based yet for his Triforce, so once he has that one, he's going to be even scarier. And now it's kind of getting to a point where we start to ask, okay, we look at the Corki. Corki's level 13 at 19 minutes into the game, almost 20. He's 201, he's got near 10 CS per minute. His Manamune's got to be pretty close to being stacked. This Corki is massive. The Triforce finally picked up here for Volibear, for Awaken. He's going to be formidable, is one way of putting it, as package. At least burn, but oh my god, the return.
They won't put the damage on what's going to kill. Won't be able to just yet. They're going to try and throw Hyoyoung forward. Does not have his W, but does have the ultimate dunks Galio into the ground. And will now be making his excuses and trying to get out. The Ezreal ultimate is just running for his life. Members of Viperio in hot pursuit, but might not be able to catch him. Looking towards the blast cone, but going to be caught by Zuki on the way in. Will go down eventually, but the damage from Corki, he packaged out and then was like, wait a second. W's back in and just annihilates the Galio.
He's like, hold on, I'm the 20-minute Muramana Triforce Corki. Oh my god, flashing game!
Getting engaged forward, Dimmy goes very low, Johnny fought out the fight. Going to be looking towards the Galio, actually. Shutdown's coming through, Zuki might be looking for another. Johnny going to be able to get the kill in the end. And that was actually a very good turnaround from Viperio. Looked a very bad fight for them. Able to secure some kills for themselves.
Yeah, secured themselves some kills. Seemed like it was going to be a full-side Lucendi fight right there, but doesn't end up that way, at least, as Kaz using the safety of the Ezreal to get away from the engage. And what a snap engage, and we was talking on the previous point, yeah, I mean, Emil just recognized, hold on a minute, I'm the one I'm the one with all the burst damage. Turns it back onto Eric, and Hyoyoung eventually has to throw away his life for it, but in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really change much in the game, just sort of a just throwing around weight kind of skirmish and fight. But this Corki is now going to be a pretty big concern, and Seems like he's even going to be itemizing into Death Stance, which is just going to make him that more obnoxious to kill. And now if you're Lucendi, honestly, you're just looking to either outright fight or just sort of sit in lane assignments and wait until objectives end up coming up and you just fight for them. And you're pretty damn comfortable now. On the flip side, that does mean that you're giving a little more time over to Viperio's Ezreal, to Kaz, to get this Manamune stacked up, turn it into a Muramana, and then Ezreal will slowly start to come online, and he does have a lot to facilitate him in the means of a Braum and a Galio to provide peel. But I do sort of start to question how useful the Talia is going to end up being in this setup. It feels like it's going to be kind of hard to make that one work, unless it's actually just retaliating truly to side lane splits. But right now, it feels like any kind of skirmish that goes on, especially if it involves Volibear, the Awaken, it just feels like Lucendi are going to win outright. So, Viperio really kind of just want to sit back for now, you feel, despite kind of having the tools to sort of be aggressive. They're not really in the best of positions to do so. So if you're Lucendi now, you kind of just... You could even really wait till Infernal Soul. You could try and look to take the next dragon, sort of brute force it. I'm unsure if package will be up, given the time of the last package play. Don't think it will be available, but I think that as the Corki are so powerful and Awaken is so big that you can just outright outmuscle Viperio. We'll have to wait and see how things turn out.
In a game where things have been so dominated, and well, I mean, all of the major fights have come around objectives, right? There hasn't really been the random skirmishes that are pretty dictionary definition of the UK scene in terms of League of Legends. But everybody seems to be quite reserved about fighting, except when it is around these objectives. And Baron is up, Dragon coming up soon as well. As you say, they're standing in such a great position that they could even just look to brute force these engagements. They are going to be the slow ones to the Dragon, but members are definitely there for, in fact, coming in onto the back of the pit. It'll be a 4v4 fight. Volibear going B, going to be teleporting in. Lucas teleports into the bot lane, and now the fight may be breaking out. Braum's going to be smacked back into the team. The heroic entrance will get a decent knock-up off, as we see Eric in the backline ripping people to shreds. Awaken coming in with the Ultimate himself, though, and he wasn't in the fight, and now it could well be turned, but he's going to have to run away, as Viperio look like the one of the teams that's going to be doing better this time around. Going to be looking forward towards the Corki. Will be able to take him out. Kaz is on a spree, and Awaken, the only member who's going to survive. And they don't care about the Dragon anymore. They're going towards Baron.
Yeah, they secured the Dragon, and that fight turns the game on its head right here. If they can manage to secure the Baron, with Eric TPing in and the death time is being so long, it seems like they should be able to secure this one. And Zuki manages to get a massive flank onto the backside and sort of lock down Gould. And meanwhile, the heroic entrance provides so much space for what looked like a pretty devastating engage from Hyojung here. Gonna imagine this Baron ticks down. And now it's all in Viperio's hands how they decide to use all of this time and tempo. They're just about to secure off the Baron, as it takes a little bit longer than my sentence predicted, but they get it nonetheless. Recall's going to come down, and now all of a sudden, Viperio are the ones in the driver's seat. They can really dictate the pace of the game now for a little bit. The Ezreal is finally online. He's got his Muramana stacked. He's going to be dealing an absurd amount of damage. He's got items to match the Corki. So now it's going to be about, can Viperio provide the space for Kaz to actually work? And that's going to dictate how well this Baron power play goes.
You said that the Galio heroic entrance was such a big team fight ability, and we saw it there. It completely denied the follow-up engage coming through after Hyojung had flung himself into the Viperio backline. He was going to go down. Awaken, a little bit late to the fight, did manage to get there, but by the time he got there, a lot of the targets that Viperio wanted dead were either dead or 1 or 2 shots away.
Yeah. And like we said, it seemed like such a good engage from Hyojung at the start, but the heroic entrance just provided too much space, and once it came down, Zuki got that nice flank. Health bars just dropped one by one, and yes, Kaz and crew were very low, but at the end of the day, they weren't the ones that dropped, and now the entire feel of the game is just flung on its head. There's magically just a 5k gold lead that's ballooned in favor of Viperio. And across the board, it seems like they're just going to be able to secure towers here. Zuki now in a position where he's not really under much threat from Awaken anymore. So he's fine on the side lane. Could even look to secure a lot more out of this push. There's so much time left on Baron. There's still 2 minutes or so left on this Baron. They could realistically look to break this as long as Lucendi don't actually find a good engage into Viperio here, Will.
Definitely something that Viperio are going to have to look out for. They do want to try and break into this base, but they don't want to overextend. They're still having members on the outsides, Galio and Camille in the side lanes, looking to take on everything outside of the base, which they will succeed in doing. And now will be the question, can they crack open the Lucendi base? 27 minutes on the clock. Decent gold lead. Baron buff is up. Defense is going to have to be staunch from Lucendi. But we know that they have champions that can engage, but the last one was such a disaster. Maybe they're holding their finger off the trigger just a little bit too long. Inhibitor tower goes down mid. You can see Dimmy stepping forward, maybe looking to get that engage himself. Because one lost teamfight here for Lucendi could well cost them the game. Going to be looking toward the top as well.
And Lucendi are just in such a tough position right now. They can't really go anywhere. They kind of have to just sit and watch their base fall. There's too much global presence from Johnny Wrecker and from Eric. They can't go onto a side lane without sacrificing an inhib anyway, so choice is the mid lane. They all try and respond to the bottom side, but meanwhile Zuki's just top.
Able to just secure the top lane inhibitor, and now going to be moving down the last inhibitor in the base. But here's Young's engaged, a pretty big one. The Royal Engage will come through, but it was going to be cancelled up by the explosive cast. Gold is so low and will be taken out. Johnny's gone golden as the taunt comes through. Zuki under the towers, they will take out the Corki, and Lucendi have been routed. Awaken's the last one there. Will be able to secure a kill, but that is all she wrote. And Viperio, seemingly almost out of nowhere, have annihilated Lucendi.
Yeah, and 5 minutes ago we was talking about, hey, Viperio just have to wait, Viperio just have to scale, but they find the good fight on the Infernal Dragon, they secure the Baron off the back end of it, and they use all of the tempo in the world to secure the game, and that's going to be them picking up their first win of the split, Will.
First one of the split for Viperio, Lucendi's still searching for it, but I'm almost shocked because for so much of that early game, Lucendi looked like they were in control. They were getting these objectives, and we said they were a little bit slow rotating to some of these fights, but overall they were in a very good position. And then that Fire Red Dragon, I think it could even be epitomized with being a little bit slow, because Awaken was not at that fight initially. And even though he came in with the ultimate and was able to secure a massive tank line, he was tank lining for people on very low health bars or damage dealers who were already dead.
Yeah, and, you know, being a frontline, and yes, Volibear, you know, he does a lot of damage, but if the rest of your team just dies outright in a fight like that, when Baron's up, this is the kind of scenario that can happen, and Viperio just flipped the game entirely on their head. Lucendi, it felt like for a large majority, although they, yes, admittedly they were slow to a lot of map plays in the early game, it still felt like they were in control for a very large portion of that game. But it goes to show tempo can be flipped so hard on its head and so fast, and Viperio just opportunistically take the game off the back of the Baron.
And it's great to see from Viperio as well, a team that we've talked about maybe being a little bit slow to get going and struggling a little bit in the first couple of weeks of UKEL, maybe more so than we even thought Lucendi had, even though they had the same record. And they were savage when it came to those last couple of plays. It was, we win this team fight, now let's go. We've got this dragon, we're going to go to Baron. And the decisiveness of the shot calling on display, much better than in the first 2 weeks.
Yeah, and particularly once they had the Baron, you know, that's their whole comp was wanting to split the map up. Have Camille on a side lane, have Galio elsewhere to be able to respond to either the core free or Camille herself. And once the outer towers fell in such a fast manner and they were already knocking on the doors of the base, it just became a matter of time. And unfortunately for Lucendi, their time ran out pretty quickly once the base cracked. And they just take one bad fight. They had to fight. They were losing their base too fast. They had to do something. And unfortunately, at that point in the game, it felt like Viperio, Zuki was too far ahead. Ezreal got too much off of that Baron play, and they couldn't kill the damage dealers, and that, you saw what happened. They just lose outright.
Congratulations to Viperio for picking up their first win of the UKEL Summer Split. Commiserations, Lucendi still on the hunt for their first, but we're going to jump to a quick break now. But don't go anywhere, because when we come back, we're going to be watching Revenge versus Mythos. We'll see you in a second.